In the year 2027, the world is in chaos. It's been almost 2 decades since women mysteriously lost the ability to have children, and humanity is on the brink of extinction. Governments have collapsed, society is falling apart, and the streets are filled with violence. The UK, though still standing, is under strict authoritarian rule. Refugees are treated as enemies, and hope is fading fast. Our story starts with Theo, a former activist now living a bleak, quiet life. One morning, he's just getting coffee, minding his own business, when a shocking news broadcast comes on. Baby Diego, the youngest person in the world, has been killed. He was only 18, but he was a global celebrity because he was the last baby ever born. His death hits people hard, a painful reminder of how fragile humanity has become. Theo doesn't seem too fazed though. He's cynical, detached, and spends most of his time drinking to numb the hopelessness. As he leaves the cafe, boom, a bomb explodes nearby. Chaos erupts, but Theo barely reacts. This is his world now: bombings, riots, and constant fear. Theo walks away, untouched by the chaos. He heads to work, where his life is just as gray and monotonous. He's a low-level bureaucrat, pushing papers and pretending like any of it matters. The office is full of people, but there's no energy, no hope. After all, what's the point of a future when there won't be anyone left to live it? One evening, Theo is kidnapped by a group of masked figures. He's thrown into the back of a van, but he doesn't struggle. It's almost as if he doesn't care what happens to him anymore. When the van finally stops, he's taken inside a dimly lit room where he comes face to face with Julian, his ex-wife. They haven't seen each other in years, and the reunion is cold. There's history here, but it's buried beneath layers of pain and loss. Julian is the leader of a rebel group called the Fishes. They fight for the rights of refugees, or Fugees as they're called. In this world, the UK has closed its borders and refugees are treated like animals, hunted down and thrown into cages. The Fishes are trying to fight back, but the government views them as terrorists. Julian needs Theo's help. She wants him to secure transit papers for a young woman named Key, who needs to be transported safely across the country. Theo is hesitant. He wants no part of this. But Julian offers him money, and that's enough to convince him. It's clear Theo isn't doing this out of the goodness of his heart. He just wants to get the job done and move on. Theo goes to visit his cousin Nigel, who works for the government. Unlike the rest of the world, Nigel lives in luxury. His home is filled with priceless art, paintings and sculptures that once belonged to museums, now tucked away in his private collection. It's a strange contrast, seeing all this beauty in a world that's falling apart. What's the point of saving art when there's no one left to appreciate it? With the papers in hand, Theo joins Julian and the Fishes on their journey. They set out in a car, heading toward a safe house. But the trip takes a deadly turn. As they're driving through the countryside, they're ambushed by a group of armed attackers. Gunfire erupts, and chaos ensues. Julian is shot and killed right in front of Theo, her body slumping against him as the car spins out of control. Theo is in shock. He barely has time to process what's happened before they're forced to flee. The attackers are relentless, and Theo, along with Key and the others, manage to escape on foot. But Julian's death weighs heavy. She was the reason Theo had agreed to this mission, and now she's gone. As they hide out in an abandoned farmhouse, tension hangs in the air. The Fishes aren't what they seem. Theo learns that there are factions within the group, and not everyone can be trusted. They're not just fighting for refugees, they're planning a full-blown coup against the government. And now, with Julian gone, things are even more unstable. Everything changes when Key reveals her secret: she's pregnant. For the first time in nearly 20 years, a child will be born, and with that child, a glimmer of hope for the future. Theo can hardly believe it. In a world that has been dead for so long, Key's pregnancy is like a spark in the darkness. But this miracle isn't just something to celebrate, it's something to protect. The world isn't safe, especially not for Key and her unborn child. With Julian gone, Theo knows they can't trust the Fishes. Their leader, Luke, may seem like an ally, but his motives are questionable. Key's pregnancy is more than just a personal miracle, it's political. The Fishes want to use Key's baby as a symbol for their revolution, a way to rally people to their cause. But Theo realizes that Key's child shouldn't be used as a pawn in anyone's game. This baby represents something far bigger than politics. It's a chance to bring life back to a dying world. Theo makes the decision. They have to get Key to the Human Project, a rumored group of scientists working in secret to save humanity. The problem is, no one knows for sure if the Human Project is real or just a myth. But for Theo, it's the only hope they have. The journey is treacherous. They leave the safe house in the dead of night, hoping to slip away before the fishes can catch them. But as they make their way through the woods, Luke and the others are hot on their trail. Theo knows they're not far behind, and if they're caught, Key will be forced to stay with the fishes. Worse, her baby will be used to ignite their rebellion. They make it to an abandoned school, where Key finally gets a moment to rest. She's scared, not just for herself, but for her baby. In this world of chaos, she doesn't know if her child will have any kind of future. Theo reassures her, though he doesn't have all the answers. In truth, he's scared too. But something has changed in him. He's no longer the detached, disillusioned man he was before. Key's pregnancy has ignited something in him, a sense of purpose. Protecting her and the baby is now all that matters. The journey becomes a desperate race for survival. Theo and Key travel through war-torn cities and refugee camps, trying to stay one step ahead of their enemies. As the violence around them intensifies, Theo begins to change. He's no longer the disillusioned, detached man we met at the start. Key's pregnancy has sparked something in him, a flicker of hope. But hope is fragile. They are eventually captured by the fishes, who take Key prisoner. Theo manages to escape and tracks them to a refugee camp that's basically a war zone. Bombs are falling, soldiers are everywhere, and chaos reigns. It's here, in the middle of this madness, that Key goes into labor. In the midst of the fighting, Theo helps Key deliver her baby, a little girl. For a brief moment, everything stops. The soldiers, the refugees, even the fishes, all stare in awe at this miraculous sight. A newborn baby, something the world hasn't seen in almost 20 years. It's as if, for a second, everyone is reminded of what it means to be human. Theo and Key use the momentary truce to escape, but Theo is injured in the process. They make it to a boat and head out to sea, hoping to meet the human project. As they drift into the fog, Theo starts to fade, his injuries too severe to survive. But he's at peace. He's done what he set out to do. He's protected Key and her baby, and in doing so, he's reignited the possibility of a future for humanity. As the boat disappears into the mist, Theo's life slips away. The sound of the baby crying softly fills the air, a fragile but powerful symbol of hope in a world that had nearly forgotten what it felt like. Theo's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Somewhere out there, the human project waits, and with them, a future that once seemed impossible. And so, in the midst of all the chaos, destruction, and despair, a tiny spark of life continues to flicker, a spark that may one day reignite the flame of humanity. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more recaps from QuickrecapHQ.